Good evening, and welcome to the twice monthly meeting of Westminster's Mayor and Common Council. During the public health emergency, we will be conducting our meetings virtually for the public, and they will be available and streamed live on the city's Facebook page, as well as the Community Media Center channel and website. We'll begin as we do every meeting with the pledge to the flag, followed by a moment of silence. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Copies of tonight's agenda and the entire information packet that the council will be using are available online on the city's website. First, we'll consider the approval of the minutes. Before you, you have the minutes of the Mayor and Common Council meeting of April 19th and the closed session of April 26th. May I have a motion to approve the minutes?
So moved.
Been a motion by Mr. Dayhoff, and there's been a second by Mr. Cavacci. All those in favor of approving the minutes, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say nay. The ayes seem to have it, and the ayes have it, and the minutes are approved. We have a couple of presentations tonight by the mayor. Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. President. Our first presentation is a proclamation for National Police Week and Peace Officers Memorial Day. Whereas there are more than 900,000 sworn law enforcement officers now serving in the United States, including the dedicated members of the Westminster Police Department. And since the first recorded police death in 1791, over 20 law enforcement officers in the United States have made the ultimate sacrifice and being killed in the line of duty. And the names of these dedicated public servants are engraved on the walls of the National Law Enforcement Officers Memorial in Washington, D.C. And in 1962, President John F. Kennedy signed a proclamation which designated May 15th as Peace Officers Memorial Day and the week in which that date falls as Police Week. And National Police Week, established by a joint resolution of Congress in 1962, pays special recognition to those law enforcement officers who have lost their lives in the line of duty for the safety and protection of others. And the members of the Westminster Police Department provide a vital public service, working to ensure the safety and protection of community members, homes, businesses, and schools. And the Mayor and Common Council wish to publicly salute the service of the officers of the Westminster Police Department. Now, therefore, I, Joe Dominic, Mayor of the City of Westminster, in conjunction with the Common Council, do hereby proclaim May 9th through 15th, 2021 as National Police Week and May 15th, 2021 as Peace Officers Memorial Day in the City of Westminster. And be it further proclaimed that all residents are encouraged to join the Mayor and Common Council in commemorating this observance by thanking the members of the Westminster Police Department, past and present, for their dedicated service to the Westminster community and for their efforts in keeping communities safe. Adopted this first day of May 2021. So if you see an officer on the street, thank them for their service. We have another proclamation today. It's going to be recognizing the Powers Ward Partnership. So whereas on October 1st, 2018, the Mayor and Common Council awarded a contract, HRI Incorporated, for major improvements at the city's wastewater treatment facility. And these improvements include an upgrade to provide for enhanced nutrient removal, typically referred to as ENR. Everyone's heard us say ENR project, as required by the Maryland Department of Environment. And the wastewater treatment plant is a very confined site on which to construct the improvements, resulting in the need for HRI Incorporated to have temporary access to property owned by the Powers Ward Partnership for excavation and backfilling foundation structures, as well as placement of sediment and erosion control device. And portions of the ENR biosolids project will disturb areas that extend onto the Powers Ward Partnership property for the construction of large stormwater attenuating facilities within the floodplain. And in order for the city to move forward with the ENR biosolids project and other improvements at its wastewater treatment plant, a series of easement documents required execution. And the Powers Ward Partnership graciously provided the necessary easements to the city with no associated financial remuneration or other consideration. And the city is Grateful to Powers Board's partnership for the collaboration and generosity, which enabled the ENR Biosolids project to move forward without further delay and expense. And the Mayor and Common Council wish to publicly acknowledge the significant contribution of the Powers Board partnership to the ENR Biosolids project. Now, therefore, I, Joe Dominic, Mayor of the City of Westminster, in conjunction with the Common Council, do hereby salute Powers Board partnership for the instrumental role it played in the ENR Biosolids project, adopted the 10th day of May 2021. And I would like to just point out for a second that they got nothing in return for offering this to us. They were just being good stewards of the community. It took a 20-minute conversation with them for them to say, okay, let's do it. And we as a city, our estimated savings because of their generosity was upwards of over $2 million. So I wanted to do a proclamation just thanking them for being good community partners, just to explain it in kind of layman's terms. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And thanks, first of all, to all of our police officers. And we echo your comments about thanking them for their service, and also many thanks again to the Powers Board partnership, for their generous cooperation with us. We have two items on the consent calendar this evening. May I have a motion to approve the consent calendar?
So moved.
And a motion by Mr. Dayoff. Is there a second?
Second.
And a second by Ms. Gilbert. All those in favor of approving the consent calendar, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say nay. The ayes seem to have, and the ayes have it, and the consent calendar is approved. It's time for the report from the mayor.
Thank you, Mr. President. The only thing I'm going to say today, because I think it's the most important thing, is that tomorrow the city's holding an election for my position, which I will be vacating, and a couple of council positions. And the elections, tomorrow. You can check the city website for locations and times and all the details. But I encourage all residents of the city that are eligible to vote to come out and vote tomorrow. Thank you, Mr. President.
All right, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Reports from standing committees. We'll just walk through the list. Mr. Dayoff, anything for the Arts Council?
No, sir.
All right, thank you, Mr. Dayoff. Economic and Community Development Committee. Mr. Yingling, no report from Mr. Yingling. Finance Committee. On behalf of the Finance Committee, I will just mention that tonight we will be adopting the ordinance that includes the city's budget and tax rate for the year, which will be remaining the same as it has for the last several years. And that constitutes our work product and our report. Personnel Committee, Ms. Gilbert.
I'll be really brief. I've been meeting with Ms. McCullough, and we've been working on the telework policy, and hopefully in the next council meeting or two, we will have that being brought to the Personnel Committee and then to the council.
All right, thank you, Ms. Gilbert. Public Safety Committee, Mr. Cavacci.
Two brief things. One, I've said it a million times at this point, and I love saying it, and I'll keep saying it. Crime continues to be low. And really no major issues, which is the report I think all of us want to hear every time I give a report. The only other thing is we do have one function we're preparing for, the Pride Festival on July 10th, which is always something that, the city is very happy to have here in town. I think I speak for all of us that it's a wonderful thing, and we're glad that it takes place right on our main street, and Westminster PD is going to make sure that it's a nice, safe event, just as it has been in the past. So that's it, Mr. President.
All right, thank you, Mr. Cavacci. Public Works Committee, Mr. Yingling.
No report.
All right, thank you, Mr. Yingling. Recreation and Parks Committee, Mr. Dayoff.
We had a great event last Saturday. We had the Flower and Jazz Festival. In spite of the weather and COVID-19, we had a great turnout. Everyone seemed to have a good time. It was extremely well done. We should be really proud of our Westminster Parks and Recreation Department. Great job.
All right. Thank you, Mr.
That's all I got, Mr. President.
Very good. Thank you, Mr. Dayoff. And Technology Committee, I have nothing to report on behalf of the Technology Committee. It's time now for council comments and discussion, where council members have the opportunity to mention things that are not on the agenda or as part of their committee reports. Mr. Cavacci, anything you'd like to share tonight?
I have nothing this evening, Mr. President.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Cavacci. Mr. Dayoff.
Yes, sir. I'll get an invitation out to everyone sometime soon. But on June 2nd, coming up on June 2nd, we're going to have a brief remembrance and prayer service to remember Townsend Cook. Townsend Cook was lynched on June the 2nd, 1885. just south of Westminster. And I, in full disclosure, I'm part of the Memorial Committee, and we're going to have a brief remembrance. Chief Ledwell has been a great help. Sheriff Jimmy DeWeese has been a great help. We're going to have it over at the old historic jail where Mr. Townsend, where Mr. Cook where they grabbed him and dragged him down the road and killed him just below, right there at Spring Mills. So as part of an ongoing several-year effort to memorialize, we should never forget that these things took place. So I'll get an invite. I'll get an invitation out to everyone shortly. And I think that's all that I have, Mr. President.
All right, thank you, Mr. Dayhoff. Ms. Gilbert.
I have nothing.
All right, thank you, Ms. Gilbert. Mr. Yigling.
No comment. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, everybody. Next, we'll move on to bids. We have one bid for our approval tonight, collection and disposal of municipal trash and recycling. Always an important topic. Mr. Glass.
Yes, sir. The fiscal year 22 general fund budget includes funding for the collection and disposal of municipal trash and recycling from city residents. The city issued a request for bids on April 1st, with the bids due at the end of the month on the 29th. Bidders were requested to provide pricing for 3 years, which would be fiscal years 22, 23, and 24, for an estimated quantity of 4,925 residences. 2 bids were received, with each firm's combined pricing for all 3 years. Unfortunately, after consultation with city attorney, one bid was disqualified due to inconsistencies and mathematical errors found after the bid opening, which were subsequently confirmed by the bidder. The remaining bid was submitted by Ecology Services, Refuse and Recycling LLC for a total of $1,306,848.75 that's the total for the 3-year period. City staff has evaluated references and the bid from Ecology Services, Refuse, Recycling in the total amount of $1,306,848.75. Finds it to be acceptable with regard to the city's needs. It should be noted also that Ecology Services has successfully bid the city's trash and recycling contract for the last 4 contract periods and has performed satisfactorily at that time or during that time. It should also be noted that the current amount that we're paying is $7.65 per household per week for the pickup. That's just for the services of collection and transport. The bid price is $7.28. So our bid was cheaper this time than what we are currently paying. The work under the contract would begin on July 1st of 2021. And the fiscal year 22 budget proposal for the general fund includes an allocation of $773,000 for the collection and disposal of the trash and recycling. So one thing I want to bring to your attention is, although that number seems high, the $773,000 for this year, that includes the actual tonnage that we are paying for as a tipping fee, whereas the cost with the ecology is only for the services of pickup and transportation. So at this point, the staff recommends the mayor and council accept the unit prices by Ecology Services, Refuse and Recycling of Columbia, Maryland, and execute the contract in the amount of $1,306,848.75 for the collection and disposal of city's residential trash and recycling. It's further described in the attached bid, and of course authorize the mayor's execution of the associated contract. And I'm happy to answer any questions if there are any.
All right, thank you, Mr. Glass. May I have a motion to approve the staff recommendation on the bid?
I'll move to approve, Mr. President.
I'll second it.
Thank you. There's a motion from Mr. Cavacci and a second from Mr. Dayhoff. Are there any questions from Mr. Glass or any discussion?
Mr. President,
Mr. Cavacci?
just one brief thing, similar to the point that Mr. Glass made in terms of the pickup fee per household versus the tipping fee. One thing just for the general public's consumption, just to make sure that everyone's clear on this. This is only trash and recycling. There are additional costs that are incurred to pick up, bulk pickup and yard waste, and that's not insignificant. And I want to make sure that everyone's clear that this part of the budget only covers the trash and recycling. So I just want to point that out, Mr. President, so everyone understands there's other costs to pick up what we probably all consider collectively as waste.
Very good. Thank you, Mr. Cavacci. Good point. Any other questions for Mr. Glass or any other discussion?
Mr. President.
Mr. Dayhoff?
And I also want to note that I helped with this a number of years ago, put this bid together. It's an awful lot of work. So we really want to thank staff and Director Glass for all his work on this. By all of the staff's diligence and Mr. Glass's diligence, they save us a great deal of money by doing a really good job with this bid. It's an awful lot of work putting this together.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Dayhoff. Anyone else wish to be heard? I just have one question, Mr. Glass. So I'm very pleased to see the bid come in at a lower household price from previous years. Any idea what you attribute that to?
Other than just sharpening a pencil, I know there were some considerations for other major players in this field to bid, and certainly wasn't because fuel prices went down. They're on the other way. They're going up. So it's again, there are times that it's better to not bid for a 5-year period, for instance. So that may have come into play as well, with only 3 years this time.
Mm-hmm. Very good. Well, it's a good thing to see, and it's nice to have competition. That's what helps keep these prices down. All right. So if there are no further questions or comments, move on to a vote. All those in favor of accepting the staff recommendation on this bid, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say nay. The ayes seem to have it, and the ayes have it, and the contract is approved. Thank you, Mr. Glass. Next item on the agenda is ordinances and resolutions. And before us tonight, we have adoption of ordinance number 935, an ordinance of the Mayor and Common Council of Westminster, Maryland, approving and adopting a budget for the fiscal year beginning July 1st, 2021 and ending June 30th, 2022. And for that, to get us up to speed, we'll turn to our Finance Director, Ms. Colston.
Good evening, Council and Mayor. Tonight, we have before you ordinance number 935 to approve and adopt the budget for the fiscal year beginning July 1st, 2021 and ending June 30th, 2022. As you know, the fiscal year will commence that on July 1st, 2021. In accordance with Article 2 of the Charter of the City of Westminster and in consultation with the Mayor and members of the Common Council's Finance Committee, the City Administrator and I prepared a proposed budget for the Common Council's consideration. This budget was presented to Council and Mayor on April 12th, 2021. We held 2 work sessions at which we discussed the proposed budget, asked questions of staff, and provided direction regarding the desired modification to the budget proposal. The first work session was held on April 19th, and the second was held on April 26th. As a result of those work sessions, we have presented and directed certain changes that impacted ordinance number 935, the summaries of which were discussed at the prior council meeting. With that, staff recommends that the Common Council make a motion to approve and adopt ordinance number 135, the budget for the fiscal year beginning July 1st, 2021 and ending June 30th, 2022. And I am available should you have any questions.
All right, thank you very much, Ms. Colston. Let me just say, as Chair of the Finance Committee, that as Ms. Colston noted, the Finance Committee spent considerable amount of time working with the staff on this budget. I want to thank our previous City Administrator, Ms. Matthews, as well as Ms. Colston and her staff for all their good work, as well as the department heads who made their contribution to pulling together this budget. It's much appreciated. Through everybody's hard work, we were able to propose a balanced budget as is required by state law. We're very pleased to be in a position to do that with current city resources and without increasing the city's tax rate once again. So that's also a positive thing for the city. As all of you know, we've had 2 work sessions on this, as well as the opportunity to discuss it in regular session. I think we've gone through the budget pretty thoroughly over the last few weeks to discuss the issues. If there are any other questions anyone has tonight or any other issues they'd like to discuss, we certainly have that opportunity now. Let's start off with a motion. May I have a motion to adopt ordinance number 935?
I'll make that motion.
Thank you, Mr. Dayhoff. May I have a second?
Second.
We have a motion by Mr. Dayhoff and a second by Mr. Kavachi to adopt ordinance number 935. Are there any questions on the ordinance or on the budget, or any comments anybody would like to make? Mr. Mayor, anything you'd like to add tonight?
No, I think you said it all. I think we've fleshed this out certainly through all our sessions as a committee and then as a whole group. So I'm happy we were able to accomplish a list of things that we thought we were only going to be able to do some of. So I'm really happy we were able to work all that out. So, Mr. President, thank you.
Very good, as am I. Thank you. All right. If there are no further comments or discussion, we'll move on to a vote. All those in favor of adopting ordinance number 935, the budget for fiscal year beginning July 1st, 2021 and ending June 30th, 2022, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say nay. The ayes seem to have it and the ayes have it. And the ordinance is adopted and so is the budget. Thank you all very much. Move on now to unfinished business. There is no unfinished business of which the chair is aware. Unless anybody else is aware of any, we will move on to new business. We have 5 items under new business. The first is approval of the contract for engineering Maryland Route 27 water main improvements. Mr. Glass.
Yes, sir. The State Highway Administration has a planned project to construct a sidewalk and walking path along Maryland 27 to connect the sidewalks from the city to the existing linear park and walking trail behind Holland Road there at Random House. State Highway has an existing contract with Wallace and Montgomery Associates for the design and interconnection of that sidewalk and path, which is going to be primarily on the north side of 27, kind of where on the side where 84 Lumber is. Unfortunately, certain conflicts with the city's water main exist and required some adjustment or relocation, and we did our best to minimize those to the greatest extent possible. But again, there still are some. In addition, the water main on 27 has been problematic with regard to some really major breaks, and it's been a CIP project for us for a number of years as well. State Highway maintains prior rights for that area where the city utilities are located, and they're in that little stretch there. There are actually quite a few, not just the water main, but gravity sewer and 2 force mains as well, sewer force mains. But because the SHA has the prior rights, any changes that need to be made there have to occur at the city's expense. In addition, it should be noted that, and if you look back in your packet, you'll see that we're doing a portion of Holland Road and interconnection there. That's really not because of the sidewalk work, but that's to enhance the fire protection in that area. And it just makes sense to do that while we're doing this other work. So as a result, the city requires engineering services for the water main improvements on 27 and Holland Road. And Wallace and Montgomery have been awarded a competitively bid contract with the Department of Transportation State Highway Administration to design and engineer this sidewalk and path connection that's already much of the survey work necessary to engineer the water main improvements has been done. And we're actually in a fortunate position to be able to utilize a large portion of that field design work basically at the expense of others. So accordingly, the city can utilize the existing state contract to procure the services of Wallace Montgomery and Associates for the water main improvements, which is also consistent with the procurement section of the city code. The current year budget assumes starting this project and included $325,000 for the design and construction of this water main improvement. And it should be noted also that the 22 budget proposes additional funding for the construction once that design is complete. Well, it's pretty clear we're not going to get the construction work done in this year, but I'm pretty sure we'll have the design work complete, constructed in the next year then. So at this point, staff would recommend that the Mayor and Common Council accept the proposal of Wallace Montgomery and Associates of Hunt Valley, Maryland for the design and engineering of the Maryland 27 water main improvements in the not to exceed amount of $70,067.86. And I'll be happy to answer any questions you may have.
Very good. Thank you, Mr. Glass. Let's get this before us properly. May I have a motion to approve the contract for engineering Maryland Route 27 water main improvements?
Motion to approve.
It's a motion by Mr. Yingling. Is there a second?
Second.
Been a motion by Mr. Yingling and a second by Mr. Kavachi. Any questions from Mr. Glass or any comments?
Mr. President.
Mr. Dayhoff.
As some folks will remember, we started working on this in 1998 with the Westminster Linear Trail. And at that time, we got a grant from the federal government. I think it was ICE-T grant. And to put that trail through. And at that time, it was not successful. And it made a lot of us really sad because some of us, including myself, have a vision of having a walking trail that would go from Westminster all the way out to New Windsor and Union Bridge and maybe Frederick beyond. And it's a good goal. Walking trails are really important. We've made a lot of steps. We're going to move forward with that at Wakefield Valley, and I think this is just great stuff for the community. So I'm really excited to see this come forward at this point in time. 23 years later, but 22, but nevertheless, it's a good thing. So I want to thank everyone who brought this forward.
Thank you, Mr. Dayhoff. Anyone else wish to be heard on this or any questions for Mr. Glass? Mr. Glass, I take it that the funding that's in the current fiscal year and next year, is that going to be sufficient for what you envision the project to be, or are we going to be looking at additional funds, further out?
So I'll be able to answer that question better after the design because we'll have an engineer's estimate, but I believe the total of the 2 years would be sufficient.
All right, very good. Thank you. Anyone else? Hearing no other questions, we'll move on to a vote. All those in favor of approving the contract for engineering Maryland Route 27 water main improvements, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. The ayes seem to have it, and the ayes have it, and the contract is approved. The next item is approval of the mayoral appointment to the Ethics Commission and Tree Commission. Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. President. So I sent some information out to fellow members here in the council for a couple of appointments here for appointment to both the Tree Commission and the Ethics Commission as an alternate. And remember, there is one member of the Ethics Commission running for council currently. So the alternate position, I would like this to be a permanent position if that were the case. Just so everyone has an understanding, Josh Gold. Now he is someone who's been very involved in the community since he's been here. I think most notably in recreation. I know he's very involved with girls softball league with his family. He does a lot with them, and he was also the HOA president in Bolton Hill. And I'd like to again appoint him to the Tree Commission, which I think is going to be extremely important moving forward. Not that they haven't already been very important, but with upcoming plans for Wakefield, I think the Tree Commission is going to have even a larger role in the city. And Ethics Commission, as we know, is always very important. So I'd like to I asked that a motion be made to appoint Josh Gold to the Tree Commission and to the Ethics Commission.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. May I have a motion on the mayor to confirm the mayor's appointments?
Make a motion to approve.
All right. There's been a motion to confirm the mayor's appointments by Mr. Yingling. Is there a second?
So moved.
There's a second by Mr. Dayhoff. Any discussion or any questions for the mayor? All right. Hearing none, we'll move on to a vote. All those in favor of approving the appointment of Mr. Gold, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say nay. The ayes seem to have it, and the ayes have it, and Mr. Gold is approved. Congratulations to Mr. Gold if he's watching. And Mr. Mayor, I believe the next item is yours as well.
All right. This is for an appointment to the Historic District Commission, requesting that the Common Council approve the appointment of Christine Amadori to the Historic District Commission. She is a lifelong historian and archivist, archivist, however that's said. And I think she'd be great on the Historic District Commission. I think the Historic District Commission, one of the things that I wanted to get to and I never did, is to work on expanding their role. And in preparation to do so, I filled a lot of vacancies there, and it's right to do all those other things for whoever is in the position next. But I think she'd make a great addition to do so. So I asked that a motion be made to appoint Christine Amadori to the Historic District Commission tonight.
All right, thank you, Mr. Mayor.
I'll move, Mr. President.
There's a motion by Mr. Kavachi to approve the mayor's appointment. Is there a second?
I'll second.
And a second by Ms. Gilbert. All those, any questions from the mayor or any discussion? Hearing none, move on to a vote. All those in favor of the appointment of Christine Amadori, please say aye.
Aye.
The opposed say nay. The ayes seem to have it, and the ayes have it, and the mayor's appointment is approved. Congratulations, Ms. Amadori, if you're watching. The next item is approval of an easement and maintenance agreement with McDaniel College Incorporated. Not sure who's handling this. Is this Mr. Glass or Mr. Deutsch? Or perhaps Ms. Levin, I'm not sure. Anybody care to speak up?
Don't everybody jump at once.
If I could get my computer to work here.
Oh, there you go. We see now, Mr. Deutsch, thank you.
Well,
We did.
yeah.
So close.
Yeah,
There it
okay.
is. There, you're back now.
Thank you. And good evening, Mayor and Common Council. Tonight, we present for your approval an easement and maintenance agreement for the water tower at McDaniel College. The water tower, as you know, is owned by the city and resides on college property. The college would like to paint the tower and place their logo on it. The entire cost of the project would be borne by the college, and city staff has reviewed the item, including the various documents, and we recommend that you approve it. There is no cost to the city for this, as I said.
All right, thank you, Mr. Deutsch. And before we go further into the discussion, we say welcome, Mr. Deutsch. Mr. Deutsch is our interim city administrator. We're pleased to have him serving with us again. He served once before as interim city administrator. When we, while we were in the process of seeking a new full-time city administrator. So we're pleased to have him back. He knows the city. He knows many of the staff. He did a terrific job before, and he enjoys the confidence of the mayor and council. So it's a very good opportunity for us to retain his services once again. He came to us the first time with decades of experience as a city manager, most notably in Bowie, where he served so ably and in a distinguished manner for many years. So again, Mr. Deutsch, welcome. We're pleased to have you back with us.
Thank you, sir.
And now we'll go on to the item. May we have a motion on this?
I'll move to approve, Mr. President.
Thank you, Mr. Kavachi. Is there a second? Okay, there's a motion by Mr. Kavachi and a second by Mr. Yingling to approve. Are there any questions for Mr. Deutsch or any discussion?
Mr. President.
Mr. Kavachi.
So I was pretty intimately involved with this project. Lee Prim from the college had reached out to me quite some time ago, and he took kind of a lead role in their end to put this together. So first of all, I'd like to thank Mr. Prim. I have no idea if he's watching or not, but he put a lot of work into this along with a bunch of other people at the college. It is truly a win-win for the city because one, I think it's going to, I think you've all seen what it's going to look like. It's going to look great. It's going to look great for the college. I know they're excited about it. So it's a big win for them. It's great branding for them, but it's also great for us, not only because we're supporting the college and showing that close relationship that we've enjoyed with the college for many years, that includes the kids coming into town on a regular basis when there isn't a pandemic. So I know as soon as that's over, we'll certainly see them in town often again. But anyway, getting back to the point at hand, the other big win for the city is there's a pretty significant cost to paint this portion of the tower. And we are not going to have to bear that cost going forward. I've talked to Mr. Glass a number of times, and at the end of the day, this is going to save the city hundreds of thousands of dollars over the course of this being up there. And then assuming they redo it, that's going to happen again. So this is an enormous savings for the city that I don't think should be overlooked. That now the college is going to bear that cost of not just painting, but removing the paint and preparing the surface and then putting the paint back up. So everybody wins in this circumstance. It's wonderful. And I just think it just shows, that this great relationship that we have with the college is bearing wonderful fruit for all of us.
All right, very good.
That's it, Mr. President.
Thank you, Mr. Kavachi. And Mr. Glass has reminded us on many occasions that it's good to paint that tower every once in a while. So, and the other ones we have. So it is a good thing. Any other comments or any questions for Mr. Glass?
Mr. President.
Mr. Dehoff?
And this is not the first time that we've had a good working relationship with the college. In the late 1990s, when we rebuilt Uniontown Road, the college was very instrumental in helping us out with the retaining wall and some of the right of ways, and helped out a great deal with the cost of that project back then. So this is yet another example of a good, close working relationship with McDaniel College, and I really appreciate it. Thank you, Councilman Kavachi, for all your hard work on this. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Mr. Dehoff. Anyone else wish to be heard? All right, hearing no other comments, we'll move on to a vote. All those in favor of approving the easement and maintenance agreement with the college, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say nay. The ayes seem to have it and the ayes have it, and the agreement is approved. Thank you, Mr. Deutsch. Mr. Kavachi, I believe the next item is for you.
Yes, Mr. President. I'd like to make a motion to go into closed section under the statutory authority to close a session under the Maryland Annotated Code General Provisions 3-305B to consult with counsel to obtain legal advice on a legal matter, Mr. President.
All right, thank you, Mr. Kavachi. Is there a second to Mr. Kavachi's motion? There's a second by Ms. Gilbert. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say nay. The ayes seem to have it and the ayes have it. And the council will go into a closed session at the adjournment of the regular meeting. Move on now to departmental reports, and we turn to our interim city administrator to lead that. Mr. Deutsch.
Thank you, Mr. President. The staff is all assembled and prepared to provide reports. Let me start with Ms. Colston.
Good evening. Now that we have an approved budget, work will be finishing up on our budget book, and we'll have that available as soon as possible to council and residents. And we'll also be submitting that to the GFOA for their award criteria. We have also been working diligently with the utilities department to get past due residents up to speed or current. And as of June 1st, I would like to note that late fees and penalties will resume. They had been on hold due to COVID, but as of June 1st, they will be resuming. So we've been in contact with everybody that has past due balances to try to get them current as of that date. And that concludes my report for this evening, unless there are any questions.
Any questions for Ms. Colston? No.
Okay, thank you. Moving on, Mr. Brown. Good evening,
Thank you, sir. Nothing of significance to report. I do want to just let you know that we continue to work on the rental housing license program and trying to clean that up so that we can get the notices out to people as quickly as possible. The goal is to try to do it before the month is out, but we'll update you later on that. So that's all I have.
Thank you. Mr. Davidson, IT.
Just want to let you know, we'll be working to complete the conference rooms at the administrative building next week or two.
so they'll all get completed and up and running. That's all I have to report tonight.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Depo?
Good evening. The Board of Zoning Appeals did not have a meeting this month. The Historic District Commission did meet, but only held an informal discussion regarding the Centennial Monument relocation in Belgrove Square. The monument has been repaired, so now the next step is just locating it back into Belgrove Square. The Planning and Zoning Commission meets this Thursday, and on their agenda, they have a public hearing for ordinance 934. That's the solar text amendment that the Mayor and Common Council introduced last month. Weiss Market, this is located at Malcolm Drive and 140. They're asking for additional signage. 1300 Tech Court, this is an amendment to a site plan. It's an addition of 16,361 square feet of manufacturing use space for Flight Tab Incorporated. The Stonegate Section 5 plat for 41 new residential units. And the Planning Commission will be hearing the 2020 Carroll County Planning Annual Report. And that completes my report if you have any questions.
Mr. Depo,
Yes.
can you tell us a little more about the development at the business park?
It's already existing manufacturing use. They manufacture aerospace and defense equipment. And they are more than doubling this current size right now. They are expanding. So this is just that addition of 16,000 plus square feet. So good news, they're doing well, staying in Westminster and expanding.
That's terrific news. Thank you.
Welcome.
Thank you, sir. Moving on, Mr. Glass.
Yes, sir. Just a few things to report. The annual paving project is expected to be complete this Wednesday. And immediately following that, they'll be moving to paving the parking lot down at Wakefield Valley, and actually possibly even working this Saturday on that project as well. The ADA sidewalk improvements project is complete. That was early last week, actually, when that was done. And with regard to the I&I project, we found just in one run between two manholes, probably in excess of 100 gallons per minute of inflow and infiltration that will be eliminated as soon as that portion is lined. So, you know, that's no small amount of water there. That's 150,000 plus gallons per day. So that was a really good find. And I guess that's it for now, unless there are questions for me.
Mr. President,
Mr. Kavachi.
one quick question, Mr. Glass. So when that, we pull that 150,000 gallons, we fix it, we know that's not going into the plant anymore. At what point do we get to reclaim some of that back from, MDE?
So the sewer capacity management plan, the criteria is to go back over a 3-year period and determine what your average flows are based on that 3-year period. Well, as you know, 2018 was extremely wet, abnormally wet. And so we still take the hit on that. So our number is still going to be rather high. Using that as an example, the 100 gallons per minute that we just located. And again, that's only between two manholes. There's 6,000 feet of run to do there. So this was probably only in the few hundred feet that this was discovered. But anyway, I think that's a perfect example that we could point to and say that it's unfair for us to be hamstrung for that 3-year period when it's clear, we can point out where there was a repair made and we should be able to capitalize on that immediately and not be continue to be held to that 3-year average. That again, that's the normal criteria. That's what MDE requires. But in a case like that, I think there's some middle ground that we probably could investigate.
And do you, may I continue, Mr. President?
Please go ahead.
And do you feel comfortable that you have the appropriate level of contacts within MDE to start that conversation and work towards getting maybe some of that dialed back on our part, or is that something you need help from us from?
So I think it may be, at this point, it may be a little premature. So to dial it back again, in 2018, we had average flows of 6.5 million gallons per day and a 5 million gallon per day plant. Normal flows today, because of the I&I work that we have been successful with, we're in the just right around 4 million gallons per day as we speak. I would, at this point, I think I would like to wait until after this phase 3 is complete before we would move forward with anything with MDE. But in addition to that, this is the year that we have to reapply for our NPDES permit. And part of that requires a sewer capacity management plan. So it's gonna, before you know it, we're gonna be required to do a capacity management plan anyway. So it already has to happen whether we like it or not. That's when I think the two lines will cross, meaning our project at the Spring Mills, this phase 3 will be complete and we'll be required to do the capacity management plan both. So I think that's the time.
Excellent. Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you, Mr. Glass. Appreciate it. Thanks for the time.
Mr. President,
Mr. Yingling.
to Councilman Kavachi's point, he makes an excellent point, and just want to reiterate, in the 4 years that I've served as chair of Public Works Committee, we have talked about this at length, and as Mr. Glass points out there, you have that 3-year look back, so the timing needs to be, the timing is critical, but to Councilman Kavachi's point, when we amended the strategic plan a few months ago, we talked about this of, okay, and this is for the next leadership who's watching here is, don't, not that they would, but, definitely pay attention to that.
Don't fall asleep on this.
Don't fall asleep on this. The governor, Secretary Grumbles, and Mr. Glass's contacts at MDE are great advocates for us, and they understand our challenges. So to reaching out to them and getting in their ear, at the right time, I'm sure, as Mr. Glass points out, they will be amenable to having that discussion. So thank you. That's all I had, Mr. President.
All right, thank you, Mr. Yingling. Mr. Mayor.
Yeah, I just wanted to thank Mr. Glass. So this is kind of my last full meeting, and while discussions about Wakefield and festivals and things like that tend to get all the residents' attention. The biggest things we work on are things like water and sewer that most people don't pay attention to, and well, until they get their bill, we all pay attention to that, including all of us here. But this is something that I think needs more attention in terms of discussing with the public, because I think we're at a point now where the people it affects the most understand the water situation in the city, but the sewer capacity situation in the city is, in some ways more straightforward to address, but have a long, hard road in order to address it. And I think we're well into that, and we've seen some really good results, better than I expected at this point. So that's really great. And I also wanted to point out that, I think we're going as fast as we can. In this past, I believe it was the Finance Committee, it may have been Public Works, but I think it was Finance, maybe both. We tried to even to move some money in the budget and put more toward it. But for the first time, a director turned down the extra money and said, "We are moving as fast as we can. We won't be able to use it." And that's just, that's great news. So I think we're full speed ahead. And one more point to the water and sewer discussions. It seems like one of those more boring things that people don't pay as much attention to. But when you think about just the advancement of us as humans, public water and sewer might be the biggest advancement humans have ever made. The printing press, well, that too. But in terms of public health and safety and lives saved, it's if you look at it, it's the single biggest thing the world's ever done. So It's okay that we spend a lot of time on it, but I just like to bring, I think Mr. Glass spends more time on it than anyone, and we're not where we want to be, but we've come a really long way since I've been here in 4 years. So I just wanted to say thank you, Mr. Glass, all the public works staff, Councilman Yingling, pretty much everyone. This has been a concerted effort, this council and the last. So
You're here.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Glass. Ms. Gruber.
Good evening. As Councilman Dayhoff mentioned, this past Saturday, the city held its 26th annual Flower and Jazz Festival. And despite some challenging weather conditions, the vendors held on to their tents and the crowd was not deterred. So we had a better than expected turnout for the event, considering the day that was upon us. We are quickly shifting gears now, and we're working hard to prepare the municipal pool for opening day on May 29th. And lastly, to conclude my report, I would just like to take a moment to thank Mayor Dominic and Councilman Yingling for their service to the city. It certainly was a pleasure working under your leadership, and I thank you for all the time spent and the vision that you brought to the city. That concludes my report.
Thank you, Ms. Gruber. Ms. McCullough.
Good evening. I would like to report open enrollment for the employee health insurance started today, and it will run through May 21st. That's all for my report.
Short and sweet. Thank you.
Yes.
Chief Ledwell.
Good evening. As Councilman Kavachi mentioned earlier, we're in the planning process for the Westminster Pride Festival. We've been in communication with Ms. Joseph, the organizer. We've also reached out and consulted with the health department and provided them with the preliminary plans, and they're good with that to hold it on Main Street. Today, we received notification that we received a grant applied for through the local government insurance trust in the amount of $5,000 towards our body worn camera program. There's no match required for this grant, so that'll be a good thing. I only needed to make some minor changes to our use of force general order to be in compliance with new Maryland legislation, which is effective June 1st. We awarded the Officer of the Quarter to Mason Moyer, and we awarded the Civilian Employee of the Quarter to Communications Specialist Dan Nussbaum. They're both doing excellent work, so we're happy to do that. We continue to get reports of both the unemployment frauds and telephone scams. Really, there's no way to prevent that other than to push out awareness and to educate people. So we continue to push out social media posts, and we have also done an exorbitant amount of flyer distribution in some of the areas that are struck more frequently. And today, Sergeant Alan Ecker was able to identify an individual who committed a burglary at St. John's Community Building at the Catholic Church here a few weeks ago. He did an excellent job processing the crime scene. He recovered latent fingerprints. We made a positive identification. He was able to turn it right around, get an arrest warrant. We located the individual and arrested him today, charged him with secondary burglary, malicious destruction of property, and theft. And that's all I have to report tonight.
Thank you, Chief. I think that's the entire group, Mr. President.
All right, thank you very much, Mr. Deutsch. Any last questions for any of the department heads? All right,
Mr. President.
Mr. Dayhoff.
I took the opportunity last Friday to take another tour of the wastewater treatment plant. I happen to be the one council member that finds public works to be exciting. Maybe at some point in time in the near future, we could ask Mr. Glass for a report as to how we're making out with the NR project down there.
Sure, we'd be happy. It'd be good to hear an update on that.
I take exception to that comment. I think a lot of us find it very exciting.
Oh, okay.
I would tend
I was
to
gonna say,
agree
Mr.
with,
President, I
with,
actually love
with,
Public Works. I've
Yeah.
been the committee chair for 4 years and spearheaded this project with the help of everybody here. So I love Public
I
Works.
think we're all fascinated by public.
Okay, I stand corrected.
Right, but nonetheless, it's always good to have an update on that particular project. It is an enormous investment by the city. It's consumed a great deal, not only of staff time, but at the time of the mayor and council, and certainly the Public Works Committee. Yes, Mr. Glass, if you'll think about what you'd like to share with us on that sometime soon, we'll get that scheduled.
It'll be exciting.
It will indeed.
I can do that. I didn't realize I was so popular.
You always, Mr. Glass, always.
Come on.
The final item on our agenda is citizen comments, when we invite the public to address the mayor and council on any issues that pertain to tonight's agenda or any other city issues. During the virtual meetings, we'll invite comments to be sent to our city clerk at comments@westgov.com. Commenters should include their address and phone number with their comments. And at this time in every meeting, I will read out the comments we have received that meet that criteria. And we have one for this evening, which I will read now. Comes from Mr. Ross Albers. And the message is, my name is Ross Albers. I'm the chair of the Westminster Planning and Zoning Commission. Recently, I had the opportunity to tour the new city offices on Main Street. Wow, what an incredible space. I was particularly impressed by the city administrator's office. What a great space to share their vision for Westminster. I can see developers, business owners, dignitaries, and political officials looking out onto Main Street and envisioning the future of Westminster. I hope Westminster residents are able to tour this space and in particular, see this incredible office. What a great tool this office will be for recruiting the next city administrator. I hope the next city administrator looks out those grand windows and dreams big, takes action, and relentlessly pursues their vision for this great city. Thanks to Mr. Albers. I usually don't comment on any of these comments, but I'll just say in this regard that we think it's a terrific space too. And while I'm sure that city administrators would love to use it as an office, we decided that it was an even better opportunity to create a conference room where we would be able to invite all the different types of individuals that Mr. Albers mentioned to be able to have a similar view and similar conversations about the future of Westminster. So we're very much looking forward to using that space as a showcase for our downtown, particularly that block, which we are expecting to see great things happen on in the years ahead as we move forward with the development of the Stocksdale property and some other things that are going to be happening there. So looking forward to making that happen. And we will still have a terrific space for our new city administrator nonetheless. And that concludes our agenda and the meeting. Our next meeting will be on Thursday, a special meeting. Then the next regular meeting of this council will be next Monday evening when we will say goodbye to our departing members of the council, and we will hold the organizational meeting of the newly elected mayor and council the same evening. And with that, without objection, we are adjourned.